Anybody who has followed the Kohberger case most likely has heard all the rumblings on the internet about the new Howard Blum article, okay? It is part of his series, The Eyes of a Killer, on Airmail, and this is part 6. This, we read through on a live, we read excerpts from it and such. You know, we went into the details of what he talks a lot about Kaylee and who she was and, you know, how she was interested in true crime. And then it goes into Steve's investigation early on in the case.
Yeah.
And cites a grand jury leak. Okay, says he got these from text messages. All this information that he didn't speak to Steve himself. He states that clearly. He didn't talk to Steve, but he got these from texts from somebody close to Steve. And talks about how Steve got information about Dylan Mortensen and Bethany Funk texting each other while the crime was happening, while the murders were happening. That they were up texting, and he got this from a leak from a grand juror, 2 grand jurors to be exact, that he had communications with them. Whoa, right?
Yeah.
Big deal, right?
Huge.
Implications that could not be so great, right? Could affect Kohberger's case, which obviously nobody wants. Nobody wants that.
No.
Even if you believe Kohberger's innocent, that is not a good look. That's not a good thing. Regardless, you don't want those kind of things happening. It taints the justice system. And I would agree that leaks are a problem. But I thought Nancy Grace, okay, and I want to talk about her real quick, then we'll talk about some of the family statements and stuff. She took it a bit too far, in my opinion.
When does she not?
So it was yesterday she posted a video. I saw it on YouTube. And she went into detail about, many things like the Amazon Click data, Stingray's navigation system in the Hyundai Elantra, saying that...
Nancy Grace talked about Stingrays?
Yeah.
What?
How they can just drive by and get all your information from this remote,
Was she watching
device.
our video? No one's been talking about stingrays. I've never seen a single video once.
She literally mentioned it for a split second and talked about Alexa's getting hacked. And she has friends who think that they're being listened to by the government that are really
said that
intelligent.
on one of our lives too about the Alexas being hacked.
Well, she said
Nancy Grace.
Right? What's up, dude?
Yep.
So she says she has very intelligent friends who swear they're being listened to and got rid of Alexa.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying everyone should do.
So
it's an open link. Anyone driving by can drive by and literally get into your Alexa that quick. Bam.
I mean, people who know what they're doing.
Basic level hacking.
Okay.
Like you could Google it.
All right, we don't have to get into Alexas, okay?
Ugh.
So she mentions that. She mentions the click data from Amazon and makes the statement that we know for a fact Kohberger bought the knife and knife sheath off Amazon. And
I hope so.
And
I do.
Talks about browsing history and says that Chris McDonough from the interview room, which I do like him, says your clicks reveal your thoughts, feeling, and emotions.
Not true.
She also said she finds it extremely hard to believe that Dylan and Bethany were texting, and that leaks are a huge problem, and that the state has no duty to the people, internet sleuths, anybody, to give us the facts. They are not duty-bound to give that to us, which, okay, all right, I guess.
Yeah, that's just opinion. That's an opinionated statement.
She also had this guy named Lee Reber, who's supposedly an expert, and says that Hyundai Elantras have a navigation system going back to 2011, that even if you don't have your GPS turned on, that it's still tracking you.
No, it's not.
And it can track how fast you're going, when your door's open, when your door's shut, all of this information. Now, I do want to mention, in the Suzanne Morphew case, when Barry was charged and they had all this evidence, they used that on his truck.
On his
and
$70,000 truck.
It was also thrown out,
but
though.
That's important. His $70,000 truck, not a $7,000 like new Elantra. There's a very big difference.
I think we need to do a deep dive into that system and what it looks like in his year, make, model of car.
Yeah, because
we
I've
really
already
need
looked.
to do that.
I've already looked into it, and it is 100% the black box. And and I've had a Kia before a long time ago that had a very, 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 very similar system where it only pops up and lets you know when you get into an accident or it notices something's going on. It has like a really intelligent dial in there that when it jolts, it starts recording some of these things like speed and whatnot. But yeah, we can go into a deep dive of that.
So now, okay. Just getting all that out there. This is the, general things that she was talking about. Now, she's heavily biased. We all know that. But she makes a statement that really bothers me, okay? She starts talking about the alibi, okay? That he takes lone night drives, at night, how convenient that is. And, her expert weighs in, it's so weak. There's no witnesses, like super convenient for him. It is. But then she says, I don't fault Ann Taylor for that alibi. I fault her for even representing him. How can you look yourself in the face?
Oh, that's
the
rough.
evidence is incriminating. Like, it's so incriminating. How could you do that? How could you defend this man?
The alibi that the defense attorney, Ann Taylor, and I'm not faulting her for this. I fault her for even representing him. How can you look at yourself in the face and based on what we know so far, and yes, I know he's not convicted yet, what we know so far, the evidence is incriminating. I mean, how do you stand in front of a jury and say all that is a lie? I don't know. But that said,
I'm sorry, but that really just rubbed me wrong. You are a former prosecutor, and I get that's the other side of the coin, but you should know how incredibly important her job is.
Yeah.
And for you to put that down, like, how dare she? How can she live with herself at the end of the day? Disgusting.
Yeah, but let's be real here.
She's so biased.
Let's be real here. It's all an act. We don't know what she actually believes. I do not believe that what we're seeing on TV is who she is. Absolutely
I hope not. I hope that you're a real teddy bear on the inside, Nancy Grace, but that was some raw, messed up.
Yeah, and the fact that she was a prosecutor proves that she doesn't believe it.
She grandstands,
You cannot be a part of the justice system and not understand how hard an attorney's job is, everything they have to go through, all the hoops they have to jump through, and then look at Ann Taylor's job with a country that is essentially cut right down the middle of people who think that he's innocent or could be innocent, people that think that he's guilty or could be guilty, and then probably a large population that doesn't know how they feel too, like myself. And I just have big red flags, big questions, want things answered, but and not look at Ann Taylor and see how tough that job is, because it's a tough job. And let's be real here. There are pieces of evidence, if they're presented how they currently stand, that look really bad and are a big problem. And I know that the true crime community, especially some of the people that we watch, will look at that evidence and very quickly be like, oh, that's just ridiculous. I can't believe that's not concrete. That's not strong. But look, in the grand scheme of things, they have a lot of explaining to do.
Yeah.
They have a lot. And there could be things that could pop up that get DNA completely thrown out, because they aren't willing to give or get the chain of custody or understand where the sheath has gone, things like that. Or the cell phone data, because there's not enough coverage for it to be reliable and have a baseline. Like, there's a lot of ways to get a lot of this stuff thrown out. But Ann Taylor still has a really steep hill to climb ahead of her.
She does.
Yeah.
She absolutely does.
And that's messed up.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't like how biased she is when it comes to this case. And, I mean, I hope she doesn't really believe that about criminal defense attorneys.
Yeah.
Because that's pretty terrible, in my opinion. But getting into the family's response to this Howard Blum article, okay? You know, they allege some things that could seriously cause some problems, okay? You know, there's a point where, you know, Steve supposedly was on the heels of this witness he was going to talk to. Then the FBI came and was like, nope. And you're going to feel the full extent of the law if you pursue this any further. You need to back off, essentially. Mm-hmm. So there's several things in here that don't look great on Steve, but I don't blame him at all because I feel like I would have done 10 times worse personally if it was my child. So, I mean, no fault on him at all. Even if any of this is true, no fault on him in my personal opinion.
Look, if I would have had
grieving father.
If I would have had that information, I personally would not have been able to wait even an hour. So, like, if I found out that there could be an eyewitness and somebody gave me the name, like I put it together and figured out the name, it could be 1 a.m. in the morning and I'm going and no one's going to stop me.
Agreed.
It's not going to happen, you know? There wouldn't have been enough time for the FBI to hear through the grapevines that, no way has he heard about this witness, you know? It would have been done already.
Yeah, agreed. Me too. So, the statement they released, you know, basically said it's common for people to try to make money off the dead in these situations. It's a free world. People can say whatever they want. Most of the time, my family and I just ignore, you know, the chatter, but they have to draw a line. I was recently sent the Blum article describing Kaylee, apparently quoting me, completely making up a fictional story about the FBI letters, so they're saying it's all fake, and that Mr. Blum used these murders to get back in the spotlight, appearing on an NBC show as well as the book he's writing. He's reached out several times to the family through their attorney, and they have denied him every time, made it super clear they do not want to speak to him, and that they have not spoken to him. In this article, he writes as if he were Mr. Goncalves and has gone through the tragedy of having a murdered daughter, and what he has experienced and is still experiencing. So writing it as if he's him, which that's kind of his job as an author, is to really you know, make the reader feel the emotion. So, I mean, I understand their point of view, though. I totally do.
I was going to say, I understand their point of view. I look at the situation and I don't see anything wrong other than, in my opinion, the one thing, and I feel like I've been honest about this, I understand where everyone's coming from, and we always take the point that everything should be allowed to be talked about. Everything. There's no such thing as an off topic. What becomes the problem is the presentation. Most people can't talk about every topic in a respectful, calm, intelligent, adult-like way. And that's the issue, not the topic.
Yeah.
But where I think he went wrong is, in my opinion, he could have told that whole story with leaving Steve's name out of it. I think that was wrong. I personally, every single detail could have been written without essentially saying, hey, Steve's breaking the law, and it could even be a felony. I don't remember how bad of a charge it could be, but I think that was a little bit wrong of him.
Yeah, I think it was crossing a line.
Yeah.
I do think it was. But they said it was nothing more than a poor attempt at getting attention, and that this is clearly fiction written in poor taste. The Goncalves family would ask that everyone please respect the victims of this tragedy and continue to support trustworthy journalism. So that was the first statement.
Mean? Obviously, they're talking about us, but like, I wonder who they think is untrustworthy.
Well, clearly they think Blum is untrustworthy.
You know what's super funny, especially on Reddit, is like, I do not have a committed belief that Kohberger is innocent, and people that are like super Kohberger is guilty despise our videos. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't get it. I've never once been like, Koberger's innocent. Koberger's innocent. I don't know because there is too much unknown. But I am going to question the evidence like I do in any case. We did it with the YOUTUBE-4, except that evidence is so incredible. But we did question it and look into it. It was just very rock solid. So with this evidence, it is not so rock solid.
No, people don't like... some people just can't handle the questioning of law enforcement. There's just some people that have some kind of personal bias where if you question, you're a problem and you're like a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for them, man. Because critical thinking is super fun. I enjoy it, and it helps me learn a lot.
It's literally like so important, but that's just me, I guess.
It is.
So, yesterday... they released another statement, but this time, instead of it going to media, through their attorney, they released it on their Facebook page. Their family, the Goncalves family page. Go leave some love to them. It was recently like a bunch of the family's birthdays, like bam, bam, bam in a row. You know, I look at their page from time to time, and it's really cool, honestly, seeing pictures of like Kaylee growing up and like fun vacations they had. It's kind of it's nice.
Yeah,
but they said that they long debated saying anything about the recent events here because they tried to maintain a positive and safe space. Given how much support we have here, we felt it was needed to ask for help. We recently were made aware of some messages claiming to have fabricated texts from Steve, as well as trying to incite others to spread lies. While we understand the internet is a big place and people are free to say whatever they would like, we personally feel a line was crossed and we'd like to pursue further action. If anyone knows any more about these screenshots, knows who created them, what they said, etc., and would feel comfortable sharing with us, we would be extremely appreciative. Everyone has the right to their own opinion, but lives, careers, relationships, etc. can be ruined over maliciously spreading false information for no reason other than to be hateful. Yeah. Now, these messages are super sus. And I suspect fake, which I have heard many people, like I posted in Discord, viewers think it's fake that I've spoken to. You looked at them right away and like, these are fake. Like, what? I don't know where they got these, you guys. Like, I have zero idea where they obtained these screenshots of these text messages from.
I think we should clarify what fake means. So just based on the words, it sounds like it could be someone like trying to mess with someone based on like how the texts are set up is what we mean by fake. Not that the pictures itself is fake.
No, it looks like somebody orchestrated it. Like, hey, text me this, to
set Blum up, maybe, or Bloom up. Blum.
Okay, so these are what the texts say, okay? I'll read it in order, the first one and then the second one. So, OMG, Steve G is denying talking to Blum, but that's a distraction. Blum never said he spoke to him. He kept referring to messages he sent to others. I'm going to spread as many rumors about Steve G as I can. Will you help me? Then the person, okay, this is supposedly coming from Macy May to I don't know who, but that's what the contact says, is Macy May. Then the person responds, no, why would I help you spread rumors about a victim's family? Then, okay, if you're an iPhone user, which if you're not, and you're an Android user, let me explain this to you. Next, there is a reply bubble. So you can long press a text message, press reply, and then it'll create this little like line connecting your reply so you know exactly what that person is talking about. So that's what we see, is this little reply bubble. Like someone replied to a message, but then directly under it says, Macy May unsent a message. Macy May unsent a message. So clearly Macy May responded to this text, okay, which this text would have been above what we just read. It would have been above it. And because it's in blue and on the right, that means that the unknown person, not Macy May, the person who's receiving these messages from Macy May, sent this. They sent this message, and then Macy May, who was supposedly the villain in this situation, replied to it, deleted the messages, And then they repeat the message. So this is what it says in the reply bubble. We made a bunch of fake screenshots pretending they were from Steve and sent them to that genius Blum who helped spread, and that's it. Because we can't see the rest of the message. So, we see that reply bubble, meaning that the receiver of Macy May's messages, who we don't know the identity of, sent it beforehand. And then Macy May, after they delete some messages underneath that they replied to, they then repeat it. Okay? Exactly what that text says. They say, we need to shut him down. We made a bunch of fake screenshots pretending they were from Steve and sent them to that genius Blum who helped spread our agenda. Literally, this person said, this is what you say. Then Macy May copied and pasted it and sent it to this person. It's fabricated. It's fake. And then the sender says, or the receiver, you know, the person we don't know, that is so wrong. Why are you doing this? Question mark. And that's it. So clearly it was set up, okay? Somebody set up these messages.
It's like Dr. Evil.
If anybody has a clue who did that, for sure let the Goncalves family know.
Yeah.
But that makes me really question if these people were involved in all, or if they're just trying to drum up drama.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no clue. I think it's ridiculous. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it. It's just crazy. When I'm reading that, I'm sitting here thinking too, like, one, why would that person send that negative text to that person anyways? Clearly, the person on the other end isn't receptive to that. If we're believing this was a conversation, so why would they send it to him? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, ha 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 ha, I did this thing, and you send it to somebody that you know is not going to be receptive to that.
It's also
it
the
doesn't
tone.
make sense.
Right, and also the tone is like this supervillain, like, "Wah, this was my evil plan," and then the person's like, "Oh my gosh, no, you're so terrible! Don't do that. Of course, I would never do that." Like it's so.
And they used words like agenda.
Right.
What?
It's so theatrical that it's clearly like a setup in my personal opinion. And the fact that this person sent the message and then Macy May copied and pasted it. Like, we know for a fact that they sent that message first and then Macy May sent it second. Like, it's a fact. And I will post some examples of some back and forth between me and Brendan that further proves it, because we have iPhones and I can recreate that exactly and show you that I would have had to have sent it first.
Yes.
And then Brendan would have to have copy and pasted it. So
meaning it's fake.
It is fake. This person told them what to
fake.
say. So I don't know if that means anything, though. I don't know if that's somebody trying to drum up drama. I don't know if that means that somebody literally is like sending Blum fake information. And in that case, Blum is like highly respected in a lot of circles. He's had a very illustrious career. He's high up in this, like, you know, his status of being an author and investigative journalist. So he didn't vet his source? Or did he, and this is all BS? And it is real, and the Goncalves family is trying to cover their butts because, honestly, Blum shouldn't have called him out.
No, he shouldn't have.
And I don't blame them for covering their butts.
Yeah.
Because I don't blame Steve for what he did.
No. He's a father trying to get over a situation that you can't get over.
Right.
And this is a way that he felt like he could work towards getting over it. And you know, he was having a lack of faith in law enforcement. And this is all said from him, right? There's a ton of statements out there where he's talking about it. He didn't have faith in law enforcement, so he took it into his own hands. And like I said, it's really, really, really crappy for Blum to do it in that way. But could those same text messages of supposedly been from Steve said, "Oh, I don't care if he uses my name"? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Are there other possibilities where it makes sense? Blum, he made a quick statement in response to the Goncalves family.
I meant to bring that up.
And
I have it here.
Okay.
I can read it real quick.
Yeah.
But what was your thoughts on it?
That clearly, I think he could have gone a million different directions in his response. And he left it vague, and he left it to the point and said enough to say, that I was getting this information and I believed it was Steve. Now, Howard Blum's an older guy. Older people tend to not understand how easily technology can be manipulated. So did he truly believe that it was Steve? And did he ask the right questions and the other person on the other side of the line just knew the right answers to his questions? You know what I mean? Are there more honest reasons for this? Because again, if you've been watching us for a while, I will always go to the optimistic side first, because I think that most people, I'm even confident saying 99% of people out there, truly believe they're doing the right thing for the right reasons, even if they're doing a wrong thing. A lot of times people believe they're doing that wrong thing for the right reasons. So, when Blum came out with this, do I feel like, based on, especially with his extensive history and background in writing, do I feel like he thought he was doing the right thing? Yes, I do feel like it. Could he have been tricked? It's totally possible. Mm-hmm. Could Steve not have been involved in anything that was sent to Blum? Totally possible. Could Steve have been involved? Totally possible. There's no way to know, and I don't know if there's enough information coming out about this to condemn either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For sure. I do. I
so
don't
it makes
know that
it hard.
Either. Yeah, it is. It does make it hard. I have a hard time. I definitely don't put any fault on the Goncalves family, honestly, at all. I don't. No. I personally do not. I do think Blum could have crossed lines, but
depending on the
but it depends
setup,
on the situation. Yeah, and we don't really know the truth behind the source yet.
Yeah.
If we ever will. So, this was Howard Blum's statement. A brief response to the statement by the Goncalves family attorney, which this is the first statement I read talking about, he was just looking for attention and it was all fake. So, 1, I have no wish to get into a public argument with Mr. Goncalves. He and his family have already suffered too much pain. 2, we both agree on, continued in the next text, that I never interviewed him, as the article clearly states. 3, my portrait of a grieving father was based on a trove of texts he wrote that were made available to airmail in his public statements and interviews with people close to him. So he's literally saying these are texts that Steve wrote to people close to him, and for interviews and for public statements?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know either. I just know that...
How were they made available to airmail? How?
Yeah.
And
probably sent to email or something like that. I do think it would be beneficial to Blum's career for him to come out and explain the essentially chain of custody. How did that come out?
Agreed.
Yeah.
I think he absolutely should. And because I want to know how. And also, Steve also deserves to know if he has a traitor in his midst who is willing to sell text messages he sent, trusting that person.
Yep, I know.
Because that's messed up.
It's super messed up.
I would be pissed. I'd be so mad if somebody did that to me, sold my messages after my daughter got murdered, and I was, doing anything I could to find the killer and get her justice and grieve. It's just insane if somebody actually did that. But, as far as what was in the article, we went over it a lot in the live, but I have serious questions around if any of that was true. The Dylan and Bethany up texting, which we heard rumors about for a while. Course. And I really question that. If that is true, I have even more question marks than I had before. And I already had a lot. because
Yeah.
the 8-hour time gap isn't explainable thus far with the information we have. And also the Linda Lane footage, like in footage he actually was involved in leaking, but he then says is fake.
Yeah.
That's also super weird. I don't
Yep.
think the Linda Lane footage is fake.
I think what they're talking about is the audio. Audio was
is.
transposed on it, and they're saying that audio is fake. Now, do I think it's fake? I don't know. We were graced with the Drunk Turkey Show's presence on our live chat last night, and I'm super stoked they came on there. I know I said grace jokingly, but I'm super stoked that they came on there, really, and I really appreciate a lot of their videos and content. Now, they do believe that Kohberger is guilty based on the evidence that they've seen, for the most part, based on what I've seen. Now, obviously, people can change positions and things like that, but for the most part, it appears that they believe that he is guilty. But one interesting thing is he had said that he's heard through the grapevine that law enforcement could have or have suggested that anybody that's even close to this situation should just lie when they're asked questions, so that in court, the defendant isn't going to have a leg up over any of this information because it could get out. Now, that's an interesting thought too, because how much of this could be lies?
Yeah, I'm curious about that too. But that's pretty much it from me. I just have questions and no answers. So what do you guys think it is? Do you think that it's just the Goncalves family covering their butts? Do you think those texts are fake? Any of the texts we talked about? Because we talked about numerous.
Yeah.
Do you think Blum was in the wrong for what he wrote? Do you think there's any truth to his article? I definitely want to know what you guys think. And yeah, I hope the family is doing okay.
Yeah, me too.
And I hope Blum comes out with more explanation.
Yep, more details around it.
Yep.